With an Iran agreement in place, gas prices continue to drop. $3.97, the national average for a gallon of regular today. So what could this mean for airfare in the near future? Today, the average price to fly round trip from New York to Los Angeles in July ranges from $325 to $450. New York to London round trip, just about $900. From Dallas to Miami in July, the average price of a round trip today would cost you $225. But will prices get better a week from now? That's the operative question here. To discuss that and more summer travel, let's bring in Gary Leff, the author of viewfromthewing.com, as well as Tim Hentschel, co-founder and CEO of Hotel Planner. Great to see you both this afternoon. Fun topic here because I think a lot of people are excited to set their summer travel plans, but we're a bit wary given where we stood with gas prices. So Gary, starting with you, gas prices, they have dropped significantly over the last 3 weeks and are expected to come down even more as we head into the summer. Will we see this translate, though, to airfare? Should people book now or wait?
So we're not going to see airfare dropping immediately because of lower fuel prices. The relationship between fuel prices and airfare is not direct. What happens when fuel prices go up is airlines have a harder time making money on a flight that they're operating. They pull back on the number of flights. Those marginal flights that weren't really doing so well aren't going to be operated. Fewer seats means higher prices. So, but they're making scheduling decisions about 3 months in advance. It's going to take some time before airlines start back flights and seats, which will then drive down fares. We'll see lower fares come the fall, but I wouldn't expect lower fuel prices to translate right now.
That is not what I wanted to hear, Gary. I wanted it to be immediate. I'm sure our viewers do as well as we're approaching July 4th and the holidays. But new data from SiteMinder shows U.S. hotels will see strong bookings and pricing this summer, with reservations for September up nearly 12% from last year. Tim, what are you seeing in terms of the numbers? Are you seeing similar numbers, and are hotels booked? And when could people possibly see some of those last-minute deals we're all looking for?
Yes, well, I'd like to take a victory lap first because I was on this show just a week ago, and I predicted that the war would be ending and that gas prices would be falling, and that we should stay away from air vacations, flight vacations, because of the high flights, and stick to the staycations and drive vacations. And just like I predicted, everything's coming true. So just stick with my tips and you'll save some good money. Because the best thing to do is take advantage of the low gas prices, find a micro-location, you know, a nice little drive, 2-3 hours to the coast, and then room rock for a couple days. And so that's the plan.
Okay, so we have to get into all those terms because I don't think a lot of people know what they mean. These are actually the latest travel trends we're seeing right now. So Tim, you just mentioned them: microcations, room rotting. This is something that Gen Z, the generation that loves traveling the world and checking off destinations on their bucket list, they're embracing doing both of them. So microcations are a 24 to 72-hour getaway, a quick reset and a break from everyday life, basically. And room rotting, this is another trend, traveling specifically to do very little or nothing at all. That's the whole point of the trip, slowing down and no sightseeing. So starting with you first here, Gary, I mean, talk to us about these trends and a great way to do them. Does Gen Z really carry the playbook on how to travel? I'm not a Gen Zer, I'm a millennial, but it seems like they are constantly traveling and constantly just relaxing.
Okay, so these aren't new ideas. The idea of room rot, that's called a resort. It's a place that you go to stay on property and enjoy the amenities rather than going off into the world. It's what the resorts want you to do. Again, not new. We have a Gen Z meme word for it now. That's fine. But what people are doing is trading off, Europe for domestic, 2-week trips for long weekend trips, doing more of those trips. And some of that comes out of the current economic situation. Some of it comes out of the pandemic, where people are more flexible with work. They may take a work trip and add on a few days, or they may, work from their week-long weekend trip and extend that weekend trip by a few days. So we do travel more. We travel more flexibly than we used to. There's economics drivers and cultural coming out of the pandemic, but not really just a new, unique to the Gen Z mind.
Yeah, Tim, tell us a little bit more about Gen Z travel. I mean, what are you seeing in terms of hotels and also this room rot concept?
Well, Gary's right. I was room rotting way before that was called room rotting.
Tim, you're ahead on everything.
If I'm gonna pay big money for a beautiful resort, I'm gonna enjoy the resort. I'm
Yeah.
gonna enjoy the bar pool. It's just part of what I'm paying for. So of course it makes perfect sense. The room rates are gonna get up. I mean, summer travel is going to break records. 4th of July, we're up 30% year over year. Room rates are about 20 to 25% up year over year. And that's on 5-year consecutive growth years. So this is why microcations and staycations make sense. Cut out the cost of the flights, save the money on the gas, and then you're going to have to pay a little bit extra for the 5-star hotel resort experience. Take a couple of days, less on the vacation. So the amount of cost should be about the same. So it's tracking all your enjoyment into a little less hours because it's going to be a little bit more expensive.
Right. Well, there's another big trend, something actually I think I could get behind this one, de-influenced travel. So after COVID and the lockdown, people wanted to get out and explore and, of course, post pictures from their viral destinations they're visiting. But again, Gen Z bucking the trend, they're actually actively moving away from those hotspots and towards places that feel almost undiscovered. Are you seeing this, Gary, in terms of this playing out? People are trying to really go to places that feel uncharted?
So this has always been good advice in some sense to stay away from the crowds.
Yeah.
You don't want to go to Rome when most of the people there are American teenagers. Go to the best idea has always been shoulder season. Great places to be when not everyone's there. It's not as busy, it's more enjoyable, and the prices are better. So if you can stay away from the crowds, that's better. And simply going where people tell you to go is often overdone and not nearly as enjoyable as it's likely to be. This is all actually an influencer trend itself. It's not de-influencer. Right. It's culturally, when things become too popular, too expensive, we go looking for value elsewhere.
And then the places that are not popular ultimately then become popular. So my question to you, Tim, is what are you seeing in terms of places that are very popular for summer right now, maybe that feel undiscovered but are still getting a lot of traction?
Yeah, well, I really like the de-influence trend. It takes us back 20 years to Lonely Planet Gods. Remember those? I backpacked in Asia for 2 months on one of those. I think it's great that Gen Z is discovering reading again and getting off the internet for a little bit. No more TikTok videos telling them what to enjoy. And then you make your own path. It makes perfect sense, and hopefully that will bring a little bit less crowds around the beaches, which we already know which beaches are going to be super crowded. If you want to go to Tampa, if you want to go to South Beach, Fort Lauderdale, it's going to be extremely crowded. So you want to look at stuff a little bit off the beaten path. Ocean City area is actually top on our list too. That's going to be extremely crowded. So you got to find those beaches that people don't talk about. And if I talk about them in the show, then people are talking about them. So
that's right.
It's got to stay secret. You got to find it for yourself.
Tim, I'm going to stick with you here. What are your summer travel plans? I'm sure you have great ones.
The best travel tip?
No, your plans. What are you doing this summer, Tim?
Oh, well, I'm going
you don't want to disclose it.
We bought 10% of the JW Marriott on Marco Island in Florida. So I'm going to have to go check out the hotel and just bought some percentage in.
That's a nice spot.
Yeah, thank you.
Gary, what about you? What are you up to? Where are you traveling?
Well, every year I visit my family in Australia over the summer, and again, not when it's popular to go. Usually make it over to Europe a couple times.
Nice.
And several weekend trips.
All right, that sounds like some great plans ahead. Gary Leff, Tim Hentschel, thank you and happy summer.
Thank you. That's great.
Thank you.